Beatles. Tourists. Hey, we got a deck tech coming at you, and it is a Final Fantasy VIII themed one. Little Liberi Fatale for those of you. One of the best openings to this day in a Final Fantasy game. Not gonna lie. So our main man Squall, well actually he's here in his least interesting form ever, because this is all about his buddy Laguna. Laguna is one of our brand new Opus 13 cards. We got a nice little package of Final Fantasy VIII characters, so Laguna is quite amazing though, and this one is worth building a deck around. So if we control a card named Squall, Laguna gains 1,000 power, and when he attacks, you get to choose up to 2 characters, dull them, and freeze them. Amazing ability. And then beyond that, when he enters the field, you just dull freeze a character too, so really good stuff. Man, Ice is just definitely in a better place for being able to dull freeze characters. So we really want that on attack trigger to be as live as possible. So we are running our brand new backup Squall. I still don't like this card at all. I think its effect is kind of garbage, but on occasion you may use it. You can dull him, put him into the break zone. Your opponent has to discard, but you can only use it during your turn, and if they control 3 or more 8 characters, which again I find a little unsynergistic with this Laguna, because you don't want to break him because you want him to be on the field for Laguna, but again, maybe if you've got a second copy in hand, you'll find that rare instance where you dull him, make him discard, and you put the second one out to keep Laguna alive. But the point is, backups are harder to interact with than forwards, so we just want a backup Squall so that Laguna is always threatening that double dull freeze. So what other 8 cards did we get in this package? We've got Rinoa, which is a great card, just a shame it's called Rinoa. So apparently in Final Fantasy VIII, I don't know if you knew this, but these are the only 3 characters in the entire game. Now, that's not actually true. I'll show you some more, but you would think that given the way Hobby Japan keeps releasing new cards based on just these characters. But anyway, so Rinoa, her cost is reduced by 1 for every Category 8 character you control. It can absolutely become 0, which is amazing. And then when she enters the field, you choose an 8 character other than herself in your break zone, pull it back to your hand. And then on damage 5, when she attacks, you dull all the characters your opponent controls. So on damage 5, if they can't do anything about her, you're going to win the game off of her. What's really nice too is that both of these effects are so good, and they're so good on attack, we want to haste them as much as possible, where there was no haste in Ice, but guess what? We've got a little fire coming. So, what other 8 characters are we running? 2 copies of the new Quistis. When she enters the field, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add an Ice card among them to your hand, which is really nice. You return the rest to the bottom, so you can grab a summon off of it. That's really nice. On the offhand chance she enters the field at damage 5, in addition to that, for reveal, you can also get back a Category 8 card from your break zone as well. I think that's only really ever happened to me once, maybe twice, because for the most part, I see her early, I want to get her down right away, and I'm just not usually playing backups when I'm on 5 damage. But I did have one match where someone went aggro against me, were just hitting me from turn 1 with forwards, and I got to damage 5 really quickly, and then drew Quistis as like my 4th backup, so I was able to get it off then. But either way, you're happy to put her down for 1. First fire card, 2 copies of Selfie. Her action ability is on occasion useful. You choose an attacking forward, it gains 2,000 power till the end of the turn. You have to dull her, pay 2 fire. It's pretty expensive, can be a little hard to use in this deck. Again, I don't think I've ever actually used it before, but it's there if you need it, but she's mainly here just to be an 8 character to lower Rinoa's cost. 2 copies of the Opus 2 Irvine. I had to use a proxy with the Opus 9 one, but stick with the Opus 2. It's just a much more consistent effect. The Opus 9 one technically will do more damage if they have more forwards, but there's just no need to do that. Like, this guy's much more consistent. He's really great against Sid Randell. Someone played Sid Randell against me when I was using this deck, and he was like, oh, perfect, 6,000 power. I got it, did it before the remedy came out, and so he just put him out of the way. So, I mentioned earlier, we would love to be able to give these characters haste, to be able to attack immediately. 2 copies of Kyros from Opus 6. When he enters the field, you choose a forward other than himself. It'll gain 2,000 power to the end of the turn. Not so great, right? But if you choose a Category 8 forward, it will gain, in addition to that 2,000, Haste, First Strike, and Brave. So that is the dream turn. Getting Laguna down, you dull freeze something, put Kyros down. Laguna is now a 12,000 Haste, First Strike forward with Brave, so he's not going to dull that can immediately dull freeze two other people. Or again, late game, you know, if Rinoa has to sit around for a turn, they're going to do whatever they can to get rid of her. But if you can just drop Rinoa, immediately drop Kyros to buff her up, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? Or have Rinoa pull back Kyros from the break zone to play him. Really, really fun combo. One copy of the backup Sage. Sometimes you'll throw it out early just to get early CP, but it's great if, again, you can Haste Laguna or something off of it. And 3 copies of Belias the Gigas. One of the best fire summons, great EX burst. Can be used as a combat trick. Again, can be used to give any of these guys haste. Another character that we would love to give a haste to is the brand new Ice Legend from Opus 13, and that is Physalis. You have to excuse the proxies. I unfortunately only pulled one from my kits, but here's where we go. Physalis is great when she enters the field or attacks. As long as they control 3 or less cards in their hand, you can either dull freeze any character or you get to draw a card. If they have to control 0 cards, you get both effects, which is really great. And then her special, the Premium Physalis Bullet, just blast any forward out of existence for 10,000 damage, and then they have to discard. It's a fantastic special. Hold on to the extra copies if you can. But again, having her hit the field, dull freeze, haste her, now she gets to go in for attack right away. Excellent. Now you may be wondering, well, wait a minute, how do I keep their hand low? Well, we've got a couple ways of discard. 3 copies of Glacial Lavalis. Still Ice's best summon, I think. Dull freeze things out of the way, 7k to a dull forward, make them discard, help Physalis get live. And, to fit in with Fire Ice, 2 copies of Vayne from Opus 12. I really like this forward. So if you control 4 or more fire characters, and he counts himself, Vayne will get 2,000 power, so he'll be at 3 cost 10k. And then if you control 4 or more ice characters, again he includes himself, when he attacks, your opponent has to discard from their hand. So I've had many a turn where I have Vayne and Physalis on the field. They've got 4 cards in hand, no big deal. Send Vayne in first, he's going to rip one out of their hand. Now Physalis' effect is live. He's a really, really fun forward to use. We're going to keep going with that Fire Ice theme. 2 copies of Leon. He's a cheap, above curve body, and in particular, he's got a pretty nice entry effects. So you can either choose a forward and deal it 3k. I rarely use that, I'll be honest, although you could use it to combo with Glacia. Or his ice effect, you choose a forward and you dull it or freeze it. I've used the dull to go for lethal, push a blocker out of the way. I've used the freeze. He's a really great counter card. So they swing in, they hit you for damage, then Leon comes down for 2, now you've got a big body that feeds into Vayne, and it's going to freeze that forward that just went dull, so that's great. Finally, max out the Fire Ice theme, 2 copies of the new Lastwell. He will make them discard on entry, which feeds into her. And then he has a really neat second effect that any time an ice or fire forward you control attacks, you get to choose a forward opponent controls and deal up 3,000 damage. Which means you can do things like have Lastwell Leon party attack, shoot something for 6k, or it can make smaller forwards trade up. So now Kyros, he can trade up to an 8k because he's going to attack, ping it for 3, and now if they block him, they're going to die as well. So it's a really fun effect. It only sucks if, again, they've got a Braskas or a Neo X Death or something with some kind of revenge effect that's going to hurt you, but in those cases, you just don't play Lastwell down. Or you help protect him with some of these protection cards. My new favorite ice card from Opus 13 is Charlotte. She's our protector. Any summons or abilities of your opponent have to choose Charlotte if possible. That not only includes negative effects like a Braskas, like any summon they have. It also includes positive effects. If they have their own Belias, it has to go to your Charlotte, which is really cool. If they've got a Tyro Pump, has to go to your Charlotte. Really great card. Then we have 3 copies of the best ice backup in the game. Edward, to this day, they're basically, I think, going to have to power creep this card to make a better ice backup just because he's going to make him discard on entry, which feeds into our discard effects. But more importantly, Silent Verse is just one of the best specials in the game. It's on a backup. So it's not like a forward that you have to play out. You hold those backups, and it doesn't matter what summon it is. It can be Medine, it can be Arc, it can be Asura, from the biggest to the smallest. Silent Verse, you play that harp, boom, you shut it off entirely. And final protection, 3 copies of Amaterasu, canceling key auto abilities, from the biggest things like Shantoto to the smallest thing, their own Physalis entering, whatever it is. Just a great fire summon. 2 copies of Terra, help us get back any of our summons and as an EX burst. And her ping is really nice too, which fits in with the Lastwell effect. So you can cast Glacial Labilis, hit a Dull Forward for 7, Terra ping something for 2, then one of them attacks, pings that 1 for 2 for now up to 3. Really good. Also great combo with Cloud. Just a generically good fire forward on an EX burst. More ping damage. Best Dark Forward in the game, Kadaj. Another EX burst. Give any of these guys Brave, 2k power, dump their break zone. Kadaj is amazing. And on the offhand chance things go a little out of control for you or you get behind, Philia helps you stabilize, get you that board wipe. Very good. All right, and then finally rounding out, we've got 1 copy of Lock. It's just a nice card to see on turn 1 or sometime early. You want to search for backups. It's really key to get Squall out because without Squall, Laguna just is half of the card. He only gets his entry effect. So if you get Lock early, you're more than happy. Search for a backup. You want to see that Squall as much as possible. And just to help with colors a little bit, Class 2nd Moogle. It's another fire backup. We can tap for fire or ice. Feels really good. So here's the 8 package. It's pretty fun. I've seen some people just do mono ice with Laguna. That version works pretty well too. Again, I really like the fire variant. It's so enjoyable to give him haste off of the Kyros, off of the Belias, the Sage, whatever. The Surprise Rinoa haste, the Physalis haste. And it really lets these 3 shine, these fire ice dual element forwards. The Lasswell is way better than I originally gave him credit for. When I first read him, I was kind of like, he's alright, but playing him, he feels really good. And Vayne, I've always liked. Like, making them discard every attack is quite nice, so very good. Some tech choices you could do. I did try the new Selfie, the Amano one, but it requires you to have multi-element forwards, and she herself only gets buff off of fire, so in testing, I just honestly liked the reliability of the backup more for having another 8 character. You could, of course, try other versions of Rinoa. I've tried versions of the deck where I actually use the backup Searcher Rinoa just to get the Laguna, which does give it some consistency, but I do miss then playing this one because it's just such a fun little card. So that's Final Fantasy VIII. Let me know what you think. Deck list will, of course, be in the description below, and we will see you next time. Bye!